I started farming in 1976, during the drought of 1976, and I had 1/4 of summer fallow, so the drought didn't hurt too bad. But then the next year was fine, the next few years were fine, and all of this ground that I've been farming, that I farm now, had been horribly abused for 50 years, 60 years, and most of it had 2-3 inches of topsoil left. So I farmed conventionally till 1990, and I didn't like what I was doing, but I mean, I kind of did minimum tillage, but I just was never comfortable with it. And then in 1990, I learned about Dwayne Beck from a Dakota Farmer article. So I went right down to the research farm. I was down there once or twice a week for about a year, and I took the plunge and just quit doing tillage, just cold turkey. And I've been doing that for 34, this will be my 34th year of no-till. Well, that's the basis of life on this planet. So if we lose our topsoil, we're done. I mean, it's been demonstrated around the world many, 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 many times. All the ancient civilizations that no longer exist, they went down because they lost all their topsoil. Although the ancient civilizations did it with an ox, you know, a little bit of, you know, one horsepower, and now we got 1,000 horsepower tractors that are able to do that a lot faster. And they're doing the same thing when you're doing tillage. So we've just evolved into being able to be more destructive faster. Well, because of all the homework I did with Dwayne, it wasn't hard. And I was one of the first ones around here to do it. I mean, Dwayne just explained things really well to me, and I wasn't apprehensive at all. I just knew it was going to work, and it worked fine. I mean, they always talk about it takes 5 years and all that, but I didn't have any of that. It just worked.
Together, otherwise they melt into place. One of my favorite statements is no-till is nature's way. Mother Nature doesn't really do tillage. We got started doing it predominantly because of trying to get water to go in the ground better. I'd goofed with it when I was younger, and at my dad's farm we did some stuff with real minimum tillage to just save time and labor. But the real impetus for us in central South Dakota was to try to make water go in the ground better. And they were running a lot of water off on dry land, but the big problem, severe problem, was under irrigation when guys started trying to irrigate in the 1970s, once we had sprinkler irrigation, and they would just run 90% of the water would run out of the field and just make a mess. But we found out if we just left it alone, it made water go in the ground. We spent a lot of effort in designing equipment that would work, and then also in the crop rotation thing. And equipment, everybody has it now, so it's not a big secret. We all have machines that can go out and plant into lots of residue. The thing with rotation, I think, is a bit touchier because we all know we need to do it, but we don't want to because we want to concentrate on the crops that make us more money. But again, in nature, there's just a wide diversity of crops. Most of those crops are high residue crops. So you look in a grassland or in a forest, 98% of the plants out there are high carbon and nitrogen ratios. And we can't really be successful, we don't think, unless we have at least 80% high carbon nitrogen ratio stuff.
And then there's parts of the field, like this 25-acre field, there's probably...
We're in an area, maybe it's a sweet spot, that we're just not quite wet enough to be corn belt, and we're wetter than the desert, so we can go from growing one crop of wheat every 2 years, which is what most dryland guys did in this area in the 70s, to growing a crop every year. We do that in patterns that allow us to get really good, pretty easy weed control and prevent insects. We haven't had to use an insecticide for almost 2 decades. So we've kind of gotten the insect population balanced a bit. So how much of the sunlight that falls on this piece of ground do we capture? And do we cycle the water, and do we cycle the nutrients? And we're pretty good at doing most of that, but we can't get the real deep stuff with just annual crops. So the rotation behind me, we've switched to where it's a 3-year annual crop rotation with a perennial sequence in it. So there'll be a perennial grass that goes in for 5 years someplace. So that means about every 15 years we'll put in a perennial to go down and suck up the deep nutrients and put them back on top and those kind of things. So, you know, the native plants here had roots that went 6 or 7 foot deep. And annual crops can't do that. Annual crops are only have roots and active roots in the ground in the summertime, whereas the perennials especially their deep roots are active year round because it stays warm below 3 feet. It doesn't 3 or 4 feet. It doesn't freeze below there.
We need to give this. I've only been given this approximately anywhere between 11. Well, our ranch here is grass only. We do no farming. It was farmed when we bought it, but planted it all to grass. My father-in-law started it in the early 70s, and then we acquired it over years from him in several different ways. We bought quite a bit of it. Of course, he gifted some of it, which really helped us out. So, but it's we ended up buying another ranch on the side of it. So we're running on about 7,000 acres here, and doing a lot of different types of cattle, different classes of cattle, and tried a lot of different things. But we're experimenting and just having fun raising our family and our cattle here. My father-in-law told me when we bought that other ranch that was farmed, and I was trying to figure out how to get it farmed, and he says, you guys need to do what your passion is. If you guys don't like to farm, don't farm. So at that point we started planting grass, and we had over 2,000 acres of farm ground, and we planted it all back to grass within 2 years, and they never looked back. So we started moving our calving date to hit a different one, and from the 1st of March to the 1st of May, we moved it in about 3 years, which that was kind of a shock to cattle and shock to our land, but we'll never move it back. But that was the beginning of it, and then I started doing some research on grass and shortening our pastures up, trying to make things healthy, some of our land was 60% bare ground, and I know that's not right, and we started working with that. Went to some tours, listened to a few people speak, and went through the grazing school the Grassland Coalition puts on, and a tour down in Nebraska. I was on a guy's place called Jerry Gotcho. He was an organic rancher down there, run cows, goats, chickens, kids, and whatever else he could find. And he's the one that got me switched over to this every day, or intensive rotation, which the first year I did it, we moved cattle every day. And from there, we've 20 acres the first year. From there, we're on about 4,000 acres that we have the ability to move every day or whenever we need to or whenever we want to. Whenever our lifestyle fits us. And the best way we can do that is to move them every day or no more than 3 days in a new pasture. The whole problem is we don't have the protein out here to dump them in a big pasture because the protein's gone the first day. I don't care how big a pasture it is. The cows will take all the protein out that first day. So if we can kind of monitor how much they get, it's similar to fixing your 5-year-old kid his own plate. If you let him pick his plate full, it's not going to be what the parents want. So we fix their plate for them and give it to them every day. And that we've been able to keep our nutrition level up higher year round doing that. But in the process of doing what we've done here, our grass actually never goes dormant. It grows year round. And that helps us keep our protein levels up in the wintertime. And when we started moving cattle every day, everybody was really confused about what we were doing. And I know my neighbors were waiting for us to go broke doing this. And what happened with that, moving cattle every day, we can't buy land around here because we can't afford to buy it. But what we've done in 6 years of this intensive grazing, we've increased our forage base by 4 times. So that just like we'd bought 3 more ranches, but they're all right on top of the one we already have. One thing about the soil health, improving that, is we've pushed organic matter down from, I do not know how far down it was, but we wasn't able to hold more than 1.5 inches of water in a day. Now, this year especially, we've had 8 inches, around 8 inches of rain this spring. We have lost no water. Our creek is run out of its bank, washed roads out. All my neighbors' dams are full and most of mine are still dry. All the water that that's lit on this place, we've captured in our grasslands, not in our dams, in creeks. So that water's still available for us year round. We've mitigated a drought. You don't get away from them, but if we get no more rain this year, I still have water enough to grow a half a crop next year. So I will always be able to keep my core herd of cows together. May need to get rid of a lot of the custom cattle or the yearlings, but we can always keep our core herd together. The environment makes, if our soil's healthy, our grass is healthy, which means whatever's eating it is healthy, and wildlife is more abundant, and so of course we're eating healthier meat. Hopefully we're healthier too, but still stress in our lives, but not quite like it used to be. But it's everything. Once you improve the microbes underneath, the grass improves, the cattle improves, everything on the ranch is getting better and improving.
Disturbance at all. But here we just don't have enough carbon, and that's been. No-till is a tool. It's not a goal. And I think a lot of guys lose lose track of that fact. It's a tool to help us manage ag ecosystem, and what we're trying to do is to reestablish the nutrient cycling and the water cycling and the energy capture that would have been here when we were a grassland.
And it just keeps getting better every year. Every year it's better. I haven't done a very good job of documenting the changes or what it was to begin with, but it just, like, organic matter keeps going up every year, and things just work really good. The longer it goes, the better things work.
We're building more fence, putting water in to make it easier, so it's easier to run, so I don't have to be out in everyone helping move cattle. I will never see this place at 100% in my lifetime because we don't know where it'll stop. I mean, it's every year it just gets better.
Well, I don't know what the limit on the organic matter is. I mean, it just keeps going up, and everybody I know that has been doing this, it just keeps going up, and we don't know what the upper limit is. So I don't know. The more soil organic matter you have, the better. We know that. So I don't know. Maybe it's 8-10%. I don't know. No, naturally it was. We don't know for sure, but naturally it was like 4 or 5% in this area. So if we can get better, we might be able to do better than that by doing all this stuff. So the future will tell that, I guess.
Well, I'm hoping generationally, we have a whole group of young farmers now in this area that don't remember having ever done tillage, which is really an interesting concept. And and we're hoping that expands. And one of the things that is happening is some of our young farm people are marrying farm people from other parts of the nation, and they're going, why are they doing that? And questioning the tillage system. So we're hoping it spreads partially that way. I hope that the government, part of the problem we have with some of the practices is just government policy. Things seems like provisions in the crop insurance and in some of the farm bills and whatever. I hope that they see that. I hope that policymakers also realize that if we were all doing, we being all farmers in, let's say, the Mississippi River drainage, which is most of the country between the Rocky Mountains and the Appalachians, if we were all doing the right thing, flooding, droughts, those kind of things would be way, way less than they are now. And we would save billions and billions of dollars on levees and dikes and dredging and doing those kind of things. So if they realize that and then put in place policies that encouraged no-till, not necessarily required, because that makes people unhappy, but at least, lead follower, get the heck out of the way is one of my mantras. And a lot of times we've got policies that are not leading to people doing the right thing, and in fact they're often inhibiting it. So So I hope that happens. Here, I think there's no doubt that the no-till, once a guy starts no-tilling, he's been incredibly more profitable. You could talk to almost everybody here that remembers the old way, and they're just way, way more profitable.
We're just gonna have to decide, you know.